So here's a big pile of just raw clay subsoil. I dug this up when I was, you know, digging the foundation for this outdoor classroom that we're still building here. And what happens is when you get this big clump of clay soil, you get a lot of rocks. At least here in New York, in Brooktondale, New York, you get a lot of big rocks. And big rocks are just not that good for cob, not good for plaster. I like to get them out. So what we've done here last year is that we screened this clay soil into this through a 1/2-inch screen. So that means that all the little rocks are less than a 1/2 inch or smaller. Okay, so that works. When it's a 1/2 inch or smaller, that really works. But you got to spend the time screening it. And what's really cool is if after you screen it through that 1/2 inch screen, you let that clay dry. And when it dries, then you can get yourself some super powdery, super fine stuff. See, now that it's dry, check this out. You just can crumble it, and now super easy to screen it. When it's wet, it's really hard to push it through screens, especially really fine screens, which I'm gonna do here. Because this is raw clay soil here on the Cobb family farm, and I wanna use this for all sorts of projects, clay plaster projects, inside or out. So this is just cool soil to have, and when it's dry, it's gonna be real easy to screen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that soil, I got my 5-gallon buckets here. I'm gonna take an old window screen, put it off the center here. Actually, you know what works better, I found, is if you screen it right into this, just in case you lose some. You don't wanna lose any. So I set up my screen like this, and I'm not going to do this all on the phone, holding it one-handed, because that's not going to be very efficient. But I just sort of want to show you what I love doing, and I want to show you the product here. See this? This is the clay soil. Oh, dropped it. This is the clay soil, and I crumble it. Crumble it. You see how easy that is, and then watch how easy it goes through this screen. And most of it's going into my 5-gallon bucket, but I just want to show you the leftovers, what I'm talking about when I say this stuff has gone through a 1/2 inch screen. So now what we've created, everything on top there, all of these are little rocks. And you start to learn a lot about your subsoil. You start to learn a lot about what's actually in soil when you screen it. And so now this is what we're going to discard, these little pebbles, discarded. And then what you get in return is this super fine, super powdery site clay soil. Now people buy this, and I do too, for clay plaster projects, already processed for you. When you're on a project, it's sometimes just easier to buy it in a bag. But when you have that experience, when you have the experience to actually screening your soil, processing it, processing building materials, you start to realize, like, you know, machines do a lot of work for us, and it can be good and it can be bad. You know, it's not an either or, it's an and. I'm grateful for the processing that happens, but this is how you do it without a machine. This is how you do it with your bare hands. And this is what people experience when they come to a cob therapy workshop, a natural building workshop in general, is that they get this experience with the natural materials, the processing. How do you create your own building material without buying it directly from the store? And we're getting this ourselves, we're doing it ourselves, and this is why I fell in love with natural building to begin with. So that's from raw clay subsoil to the finest powder that you can make, at least with a little window screen. We could go even further than that if we had sieves, but I'm gonna sign off. I wanted to show you too that, you know, this is clay soil that also went through a 1/2 inch screen before I sign off here. And you see, you can't really screen wet soil. I mean, you can, but you're just pressing through screens. I mean, it's hard work. You just don't do it. You got to let that clay soil dry, and then it becomes precious. Then it becomes a story, and it's all about the story here. Cob therapy. Say yes. Oh yeah.